and Iran. Netanyahu addresses Iran deal at Mimuna celebrations. Palestinian killed in clashes with the IDF in the West Bank. This new campaign calls for a show of solidarity against anti-Semitism in Europe. Shalom and welcome to the Jerusalem Post News. Here are the top stories for April 12th. US President Barack Obama responded to Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's skepticism over the recent talks on Iran's nuclear program while speaking at a press conference at the Americas Summit in Panama City yesterday.
Now, there's politics and political pressure inside of the United States. We all know that. The Prime Minister of Israel is deeply opposed to it. I think he's made that very clear. I have repeatedly asked, what is the alternative that you present that you think makes it less likely for Iran to get a nuclear weapon? And I have yet to obtain a good answer on that.
Obama's comments came following a meeting with Cuban President Raul Castro in the highest level talks between the two countries in nearly 60 years, in which the two men agreed to push ahead on improving relations after decades of hostility.
And as a consequence, I think we are now in a position to move on a path towards the future and leave behind some of the circumstances of the past that have made it so difficult, I think, for our countries to communicate.
The subject of Iran's nuclear program also featured at Netanyahu's Mimuna last night in celebrations marking the end of Passover.
אבל אני מאמין באמת ובתמים שאנחנו מדברים גם על ביטחון העולם. אסור שמדינת הטרור המסוכנת ביותר בעולם תקבל לידיה את הנשק המסוכן ביותר בעולם. ועל כן אנחנו מחויבים לנסות למנוע הסכם רע ולהחליפו בהסכם טוב.
A Palestinian was killed during a clash with the IDF near the West Bank town of Beit Umar on Friday, according to Palestinian reports. According to one report received by the IDF's Regional Coordination and Liaison Administration, the Palestinian was killed by an IDF bullet in the course of a violent clash which erupted during a funeral. IDF sources said a funeral procession for a former Palestinian prisoner who died of natural causes erupted into a large-scale clash with some 700 rioters hurling rocks and firebombs at army units in the area. According to Palestinians, the casualty was the cousin of the former inmate. And a new campaign against anti-Semitism is calling on Europeans to film themselves wearing kippots and other Jewish symbols to show their solidarity and opposition to rising anti-Semitism.
I, too, proudly joined the initiative
to increase awareness of anti-Semitism in Europe. I challenge 5 of my Facebook friends to do the same
or donate $18.
We are all partners in a peace effort to end anti-Semitism and hatred around the world.
Anti-Semitism is rearing its head once again in Europe. Innocent European Jews, our fellow countrymen, live with constant anxiety and fear at what tomorrow may bring. In a proud continent where freedom of religion is taken for granted, Jews are frightened of walking through capital cities dressed in traditional attire lest they suffer an outpouring of verbal and often physical abuse. 75 years ago, when Jews in Europe were forced to wear a yellow star, the King of Denmark and his subjects all donned identical symbols in a matchless show of solidarity. Today, in its ongoing effort to promote peace and fight anti-Semitism, the European Jewish Association is following Denmark's example and launching a viral campaign to put an end to the baseless hatred and abuse of innocence.
That's it for today. We'll be back tomorrow with more news from Israel. Until then, shalom from the Jerusalem Post studios.